Welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Along with Lakeena McGee, I am Sidney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, first right here on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. Our videos drop every Monday and Friday. Once again, videos drop every Monday and Friday right here on YouTube. You can catch the audio version of this podcast at War on Anchor. The audio version dropped every Tuesday and Saturday. Once again, the audio versions drop every Tuesday and Saturday at War on Anchor. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Please type in those search engine boxes, WARR on Anchor. You can also go to our website, weareregalradio.com, and you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are on a podcast fun, and we have very definite opinions. Moving on. The Chicago, as we start off with baseball talk, Lakeena, the Chicago White Sox are 58-38. They're battling the Milwaukee Brewers as we speak in a 3-game series up in Miller Park. I know it's called the new corporate name, which I will not say here, even though I'm not a Brewers fan. But being a Sox fan, you get what I'm coming from with that. So, of course, Sunday night's game will be on ESPN at 6 o'clock for those of you who have been living under a cave. Also, for those of you who have been living under a cave, if you follow the White Sox, if you claim you've been following the White Sox, Yermin Mercedes, who was the story of the first half of the season, at least for the first month of the season, rather, suddenly announced his retirement late Wednesday night, but the next day changed his mind and went back to AAA Charlotte. Lakeena, I know that we talked about I don't want to go through this again, the quote-unquote incident in Minnesota back in May. We documented his struggles, at least on the field, after that, only hitting 2 home runs. And we said that there needed to be a change, or a change was coming for him soon. Of course, he was sent down to the minors. I don't want to speculate on what's going on outside the field because we're not there.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, hopefully, whatever he's going through, he's okay. I'll just leave it at that. But my thought on this is that I know that he's fighting for a career. And I know he's had a taste of the big time. He was loved by everybody in the city. He was the biggest story in Chicago. He was the biggest story, if not the biggest stories in baseball through the first month and a half of the season. We documented that he was late a couple of times. Manager Tony La Russa benched him, which I was in support of at the time. I said Tony La Russa was the right manager for this team, even though they had some key young veterans on the squad. This is still much a very young squad. Now, for Yermin Mercedes, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes, even though none of us have gone through what he's going through right now. I get it that you have had a taste of success after battling your whole adult baseball career to get to the big show. You want to keep your spot there. But if you don't get to the big leagues again, where do you go? What do you do? It's just that my hope is that whatever's going on, if there's anything going on, that he can get support. I know his teammates, when he was with the White Sox, supported him throughout that whole incident. I'm using air quotes here at Minnesota back a couple of months ago. Whatever he's going through right now, whatever what's going on, if anything's going on, that he'll get the support that he needs. I just want him as a human being to get back on track. Do I want him on the White Sox as a White Sox fan? Sure. But whatever is going on, if there's anything going on, hopefully that he's okay and he can resume his baseball career. I know that Tony La Russa came out on Thursday and said that he's behind Yermin 100%. I know that his teammates up here in Chicago are still behind him. And will he be heard from again this season? I hope so. But even that, if Yermin is not heard from on the big league roster again this year, hopefully that things are going well. I just hope I didn't paint too much of a picture that that we're suggesting something is going on that we think we know about because we're not there. I'm not there. So whatever went through his mind over the last few days or whatever since he's been down in the minor leagues, hopefully those issues are clearing up and he can resume his baseball career.
I think for me that it all started like a couple of months back when he scrubbed everything White Sox. He had everything White Sox. He plays at AAA Charlotte, and he always has White Sox stuff all over the place. Now all of a sudden, a couple of months back, he scrubbed it. So I don't know if maybe it's something mentally, or maybe he kind of feels like, okay, there's not gonna be room for him now that Eloy's coming back and Robert's coming back. So I kind of feel like, okay, all right, okay, and then he came back yesterday. So, I mean, on Thursday. So I'm to the AAA team down there in North Carolina. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's one of those things where you don't know what's going on in a player's head. I mean, it could it be something mental? Could it maybe just be that he kind of feels like he felt the love, and maybe he feels like there's not going to be any room for him up here with those two guys I mentioned coming back. So I don't know. I mean, look, I hope he can kind of get his head together and get his mind right. I mean, it's just one of those things where he was such beloved and was such a cult figure here in Chicago those first few months of the season. And then pitchers started catching up with him and started learning what his style. So that kind of took a toll on him, and he got sent back down to the minors, and he's been struggling there, and now he had all the weird things that happened earlier this week. So like I said, hopefully, I don't want to get too much into this because again, we don't really know what's going on in his head, but hopefully he can if he can find peace, and maybe once they extend the rosters later on next month, maybe he'll be able to come back and there'll be room for him. But I don't know. I think right now we just really don't know.
And getting back to what's going on with him on the field, we talked about this before. Lakeena, when struggling from mid-May on, pitchers were adjusted to him how to get him out. He never made the adjustment, and we talked about it at the time, Lakeena, the way the schedule was playing out. That especially when they started playing against these National League teams in their ballparks, in particular that series against that quick 2-game series against Pittsburgh, which they ended up splitting. The DH, the designated hitter rule, was not allowed, so he almost had a whole week off there. And there were some conversations that he was going to get sent down. Eventually, he got sent down. We all know that baseball is a numbers game. You fail the majority of the time. But for Yermin, the struggle was real. He didn't make the adjustment to what the pitchers were throwing at him. As I said during that time, Lakeena, I said, take the pitches that is given to you. It looked like he started to turn around in the beginning of June, but he went back to his old self again, thinking that every ball that was going to be thrown to him would be a home run. It just doesn't work that way here in the big leagues. So he failed to adjust consistently. Hopefully he's getting the work down there in Charlotte. Like you said, Lakeena, once they expand the rosters going into the month of September, hopefully he's one of the call-ups. Maybe he'll be heard again on the field. It may just one more tiny thing related to him off the field. Maybe this will kind of humble himself. Yes, you had a taste of the big show, and maybe this will humble yourself and use it as motivation and say, if I don't do this, if I'm not on my P's and Q's, I haven't earned my spot yet. I had a taste of it, but I want to go out there and stay up there for good. I can use this as motivation to stay in the big show, because if I screw up again, my career is over, even though I'm nearing the age of 30.
Yeah, that's probably maybe that'll get him to kind of feel that way. So let's get to what's going on the field. So like I said, I didn't want to go into too much into detail into this. But, the Sox with their series with the Twins, losing 7-2 in the rubber match on Thursday. They kind of been some little bit of struggles, with the, just the pitching just wasn't very good. And, Polanco, they helped, power the Twins, to split that series with the White Sox. Cruz is now over with the Yankees. So, I mean, with the Rays, I should say. So maybe, you'll be seeing him in a little bit too, but at least he's out of the division. So that helps. But, nothing too concerned. I mean, look, as long as they didn't lose 3 out of 4 to the Twins, they don't have to worry about playing the Twins anymore this year. So I'm kind of like, well, not at home anyway. I know they got a series with them coming up in a couple of weeks in Minnesota, but after that they're done. But I mean, look, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, look, you're up You're up 9 on the now Cleveland Guardians. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about this series? I mean, it's nothing like I said, nothing really to freak out about if you're a White Sox fan.
Yeah, I was at the game Wednesday, and Dylan Cease did not look good. I'm a little bit concerned about him. He struggled in the last couple of starts. Hopefully, he can get it together because, as we said all season, the strength of this team is their starting pitching, and it has not missed a beat in terms of injuries. Hopefully, they don't suffer any injuries. Hopefully, the team overall doesn't suffer any more major injuries. And the trade deadline is next weekend. Hopefully, Rick Hahn will bring us a reliever or two. We'll see about that. But that Minnesota series, it showed us that a different hero can step up every night. We saw what Gavin Sheets did in that second game of that day-night doubleheader on Monday with a game-winning home run off of Joe Barrios, overrated. And we saw what Billy Hamilton did in Tuesday's game, driving in the go-ahead score, and then Jose Abreu with that 3-run home run. Jose Abreu has really turned around ever since that injury he suffered against the Seattle Mariners last month, as we all thought, including surely thought he was going to be gone for a long time, at worst for the season. Thank goodness that didn't happen. But Abreu had a horrible month of June. He's turned it around in the month of July. He's really swinging a hot stick. And so those are a few things that I took away from this series. Now, on the negative side, including Wednesday's game, which I was in the park at, as you said, Lakeena, before the season started, that mental relief outside of Liam Hendricks, the closer, and perhaps Evan Marshall, that mental relief is in trouble. It is. I don't want to jump off the bridge. And if you're Tony La Russa, you're giving guys multiple opportunities. Thank goodness you have a 7.5, 8-game lead in the division. So you're giving guys extended opportunities to showcase themselves. No one else besides those who do pitches that I mentioned are showing up right now.
Yeah, and I think
that's why I said mental relief is most important between now and next Saturday when the trade deadline ends.
Well, like I said before, I mean, I said it earlier in the season. I've been saying it during the season. I feel like I'm a broken record here saying this, that if you look at the White Sox want to have a chance to go to the World Series, they're going to have to make a move in the middle of relief. And and then unfortunately that's been a problem. And sadly, that's sort of still been the case. That was the case in this series in Minnesota. I mean, it was definitely the middle of relief that didn't help them, unfortunately. So, but unfortunately for this, I know Rick Hahn, you trust Rick Hahn. I'm sure he's going to make the right move, but there are other teams that are going to need bullpen help. We'll get to them in a minute. But I mean, looking at the series against Milwaukee, I mean, some people have already kind of teased that this could be the World Series preview. I don't think that's going to be the case, but again, we'll just indulge folks. I mean, you got Giolito against Peralta. That was yesterday. Got Rodon versus Burns, and also the Sunday nighter, which will be on ESPN. As you said, it'll be Lynn versus Woodruff. So, I mean, if you're the White Sox,
I'm really looking forward to that Sunday night game.
That should be a good one. And how very animated Lance Lynn is. So I'm sure he's going to be coming at the bit for this matchup tomorrow. But I mean, look, like I said before, I mean, look, you don't want to again. As long as you win the series, you can kind of also help the Cubs out too a little bit. But as long as you win the series against Milwaukee, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I think there's no reason why you shouldn't at least win the series because I think you're a little bit better than Milwaukee, even though they're in the different divisions now and different leagues. But there's really no reason that the White Sox can at least just win the series. Win 2 out of 3 against that can only help your confidence.
Yeah, and especially after what happened in this series against Minnesota, like I said, it wasn't a make or break series. You dominated that team all year. You dominated the division all year. Now you facing a Milwaukee team, as you mentioned, they're not great, but they're good enough to where they have a big lead over the Cincinnati Reds and the Cubs right now in the NL Central. Now, Tony La Russa, he was an American League manager first with the Oakland A's back in the day in the White Sox before he switched over to St. Louis for the later half of the 90s and up into 2011 when they had a couple World Series titles to end his tenure there. Let's be honest here. Tony La Russa is a National League manager. We're going to see what he's really made of in terms of what moves can he make because there's no DH this weekend. And we'll see what kind of lineups that he'll bring out against a very good Milwaukee pitching staff. Like I said, Brandon Ruchov is one of the top pitchers in the National League. We'll see him on Sunday tomorrow for those of you listening on the audio version. We'll see what kind of lineup he makes. And we all know that he hasn't had the horses all year. They're coming back in a few weeks, but I want to see how Tony La Russa really manages, because we all know this White Sox team, they can hit some home runs. They haven't hit a whole lot of them this year, but when they score their runs, they come in bunches. And we'll see what they can do against good pitching. And for the young guys on this roster, this is the closest we're going to see as of right now to what playoff baseball can be. You're not going to win every game with a home run. You're not going to win every game just having your starting pitchers bail you out and you win 1-0. You had to create scoring opportunities. You got to go hit and run. They started to do that a little bit on Wednesday, even though it was in a losing effort. I want to see them steal more bases. I want to see them hit and run a little bit more. And I just want to see them be aggressive. That's what I'm looking for this weekend against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Should be a lot of fun. I think that's a good thing that they are getting the Sunday night baseball treatment. So let's go to the Cubs for a second. The Cubs unfortunately lose 3 out of 4 to the Cardinals. They have the Diamondbacks here at Wrigley in the middle of that series. I mean, look, there's no reason why the Diamondbacks can't. I mean, the Diamondbacks shouldn't lose to the Cubs. If you're the Cubs, you got to win. If you want to at least have a snowball chance to at least be in contention for the NL Central, which I think it can be. I think you need to win this series. Just not of course, the inconsistencies of the hitting, I think that killed the Cubs. Mm-hmm. They had to come back on Tuesday. Unfortunately, they weren't able, the 7th, coming back from, I think it was like, 4 or 5 runs down or something. They ended up winning it.
Yeah, it was 6-1. They were trailing in the 9th inning.
Okay, so they were the 5. Yeah, so they couldn't do it against on Wednesday. They were in the same situation. They just didn't have it on Thursday either. So losing 3 out of 4. So just the inconsistencies are back from earlier in the season. Now it's rigorous ugly headed at probably the worst time of the season. So what do you think, Sid?
You just summed it up right there. Not just that series, but of the whole season, that this Cubs offense has been inconsistent all year. Craig Kimbrell, he's human. He had a big gaffe on Wednesday, but shouldn't have gotten to that point. Mm-hmm. You should be talking about a 4-game series split, if you want to be honest here, Lakeena. That game on Monday, they were out of it. They lost 8-3. I'm not going to say they didn't show up, but it just didn't look like they didn't have any intensity, any heart. But the rest of that series, I believe they showed up. Now, Tuesday's game, it was a great sign. They just couldn't build on the momentum, like you said. Now, they got the worst team in baseball in Arizona as we speak right now, and they can't afford to just show up, think they're going to just win a ball game by showing up and going through the motions. Whatever happens to this team, it'll happen, but what you can control is what you could do on your own, and that's beating the Diamondbacks by sweeping them. You should have swept them last weekend on the road. But there's no more excuses now. The Arizona Diamondbacks are the worst team in the league. You're still the Chicago Cubs. You're not the team that you were a few years ago. We understand that, but you're still a better team than the Diamondbacks. There's no excuse. You should sweep this team because you had 4 tough games against Cincinnati starting on Monday.
Yeah, and that's going to be sort of the thing as to whether or not Jed Hoyer decides to kind of trade, try to trade as many assets as he can. He's probably really going to try and wait to the last minute, but we'll see. I mean, like I said before, I know people have had their sort of their trade predictions. Where's Baez going to go? Is Chris Bryant going to go anywhere? Will Rizzo be able get some value? But I just I think at this point, I think you just got to take it one series at a time, and whatever happens.
Yeah, that's all you can do. That's all you can do.
All right, so let's talk about the rest of baseball. I'll start. I mean, I think that the Dodgers. If you're like the Dodgers, I think you're sick to your stomachs right now if you're a Dodgers fan. I mean, you lose 3 out of 4 to the Giants. You missed your chance of perhaps maybe even taking back the lead in the NL West. And then you lose, not only that, but you had, multiple run leads in the 9th. Go Kenley Jansen. They lose 3 straight games in which they led entering the 9th inning for the first time in a single season in franchise history. So a team that's going to need bullpen help. I guess we know the White Sox need bullpen help, but it's looking more and more like the Dodgers are going to need bullpen help. So that's another thing. That's going to be one thing that's going to be to look at in a couple of weeks with the trade deadline coming up. Of course, Fernando Tatis Jr. and also Vlad Guerrero. I mean, the two kind of dynamic duos, if you will. They're on pace for 50 plus home runs this season. So the record for most home runs in a season, at 22 or younger, is Eddie Matthews. You go all the way back to 1953. Of course, in the Negro Leagues, unfortunately, we don't know what the records and the stats were back then. But that's pretty much what. Yeah, that's kind of like sums up what my thoughts on baseball is. I mean, I think the Rays getting Cruz, I think that can definitely help, because they definitely need another bat in that lineup. They're only one game back from the Red Sox. Like what say you, Sid? Because I think that I know there are a couple of things I think that caught your attention this week in baseball.
First, let's start with the Giants-Dodgers series. I don't know if you checked out the game on Thursday. It was a classic. I thought.
Yes, I saw that.
The Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers going to take care of the Giants 3-1. They'll take a 4-game series split, but the Giants said no. It was 2 outs to go at the top of the 9th inning. The umps got that call correct. That I forgot who the runner was for the Giants. He was clearly safe. The umps got the call right thanks to replay. And then I forgot the other batter's name for the Giants. He was up with the bases loaded. 3-2 pitch. You could tell watching in live time that he had a check swing. He went around. Now on the replay, watching in real time, you didn't think he fully went around. But on the replay, it showed that he ran around. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts came out and started screaming and yelling, tossed his hat. I was kind of laughing like I am now, but I said, if Dave Roberts is going to get tossed out this game, which he did, he's going to earn this one. He was absolutely correct. The Dodgers got screwed out of that.
Yeah.
Out of that. That game should have been tied going into the top of the 10th inning. But the Dodgers took another late inning loss. I know they're going through injuries, especially to the depth of their roster. A couple of starting pitchers right now. I know Walker Buehler pitched a heck of a game on Thursday. Yeah. He deserved a better fate than that, but sometimes that's baseball, and you just have to deal with it. So hopefully the Dodgers just get back on track. As we said before in this show, unless it's a big epic collapse, the San Francisco Giants aren't going anywhere. Now, I still don't have them winning the division, but they're going to be around for a wild card spot. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but you could pencil them in for a playoff spot. It's just which way they're going to get it.
Yeah, I don't see, like I've said before, I don't think they're gonna hang on for the division either. I think the Dodgers will get it together with their injuries, and hopefully they'll get that bullpen situation right, whether it's Jansen or somebody else. But I just don't. Yeah, I don't see them not winning that division. I just think that the Dodgers are just too good. Once they get everybody back healthy, I just don't see them doing it. I don't think the Giants are going to collapse either. I think they're going to be right there for a wild card spot. But I think they'll be fine. I think both teams are going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of which order. But I think the Dodgers are going to end up winning that division.
And also, too, before we forget, this past Tuesday, Major League Baseball made history as the Baltimore Orioles faced off against the Tampa Bay Rays. It was the first time that Major League Baseball presented an all-female crew for their broadcast. It was Heidi Whitney and Lauren Gartner doing the pre- and post-game. Of course, you have Sarah Langs and Melanie Newman, the Baltimore Orioles radio play-by-play voice. They called the game, of course, Alana Rizzo, who worked with the MLB Network before. Now she's back, and she did the field reporting. I watched the entire game. It was a joy to watch. It was something different, something fun. They had a couple of players from each team mic'd up. For those of you that missed it, you can still catch it on YouTube. Just search it on the Major League Baseball channel, and you can catch it there. I enjoyed it, Lakeena. I hope they do it again. Me personally, I hope they could do it during the playoffs. I know that Turner has it. I know Fox has it. I know they pay a whole lot of money for it, but hopefully MLB can find some way to have that happen during the playoffs, or perhaps in the World Series on an additional stream on the sub channel.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was. I caught a little bit of the replay of it, and I didn't watch it live, but it should be. But I think all 5 of those women are great at what they do, and I think hopefully this will be they'll do it in the playoffs. Hopefully other leagues will follow suit. Hopefully other leagues, I should say, will follow suit and do something like this, and hopefully maybe do it more often, not just occasionally. So, but congrats to the ladies, and it actually turned out to be not a bad game. So. I'm glad they got a chance to actually call a thriller, which is, I think that usually helps too, makes the broadcast even more enjoyable when we have a great thrilling game, and that first game was. So, it was, congrats to them, and look, hopefully, this becomes a regular thing. Maybe they'll do it maybe once a week or something.
That'll be a great idea. As we mentioned, the NHL did it last year between the Blackhawks and the Blues right before the shutdown. The NBA, we all know they always have female sideline reporters, and they have female analysts in their local broadcast now. With a couple of these teams, I know Doris Burke is doing it with ESPN on the television side. She did it this past year for the NBA Finals, which we'll get to in a minute. But hopefully the NBA can do that, which I think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I want to see it in football. I know Beth Mowins, who's the backup play-by-play voice for the Cubs this season. I know she does college football for ESPN and a couple other sports as well. I know she's done it for CBS during the last couple of weeks of the regular season for the past few years. But let's see if the NFL can step up and do it. We'll get to more of them in our next segment because there's other stuff going on with that league. But I want to see the NFL step up and do it next.
Yeah, I know that Hannah Storm and Andrea Kramer did it on their Amazon feed for us. So, but yeah, I think it would be great if they can do it. So, look, you've got a lot of great voice. Like I said, I think Beth Mellons could be one to play-by-play. I mean, like you said, she's been doing it for years. She's terrific. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully they can. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think it will be a couple years before we see it in the NFL, but I'm sure the other leagues, we saw it in the NHL, we saw it in MLB, we see it in the NBA all the time. There are at least one female in one of the roles. So we'll see. It should be interesting, but congrats. You know what? I think it's fun, and hopefully this will be a regular thing, and we won't have to be like historic or anything like that.
Couldn't agree with you more. Before we move on, let's take a look at the weekend series that's going around Major League Baseball across the country. Of course, you have the Diamondbacks, the Cubs. Here in Chicago on the north side, you have Atlanta at Philadelphia. The Beltway Series round 2 this time at Camden Yards between the Washington Nationals and the Baltimore Orioles. The Yankees and Red Sox, they'll resume their series this weekend. They got through that game on Thursday. Lakeena rained in all. The Red Sox coming from behind to beat the Yankees in 10 innings. I'm not going to say it's a death march for the Yankees, but it's getting pretty close because they had that game in hand on Thursday. They gave it away.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Also, you have the San Diego Padres at the Miami Marlins. You have St. Louis at Cincinnati. And a big important series for both ball clubs. Both teams going in opposite directions there. Of course, Tampa Bay at Cleveland against the Indians for now. They'll be known as the Guardians, as Lakeena mentioned a few moments ago, next season. Toronto will be taking on the New York Mets from Citi Field. The Angels and Twins will resume their series this weekend from the Twin Cities at Target Field. Of course, you have White Sox Brewers. The I-90 series going up north at Miller Park. I'm not calling that corporate name. You know why. You have Detroit and Kansas City, Texas at Houston for the Texas battle, since both of them in the American League now. You have Pittsburgh at San Francisco, Colorado at the Dodgers, and Oakland at Seattle. So those are the series going on this weekend around the country in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, that Oakland-Seattle series should be interesting because if Seattle can get 2 out of 3, maybe they can get right back into the wild card spot in the AL and perhaps maybe make it a little bit closer in the AL West. We'll see.
Yes, we'll see. You're listening to the weekend edition of Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. That's me. Lakeena, let's wrap up this first segment by wrapping up the 2020-21 NBA season. The Milwaukee Bucks are your 2021 NBA champions after defeating the Phoenix Suns this past Tuesday in Game 6 at Fiserv Arena in Wisconsin by the score of 105-98. Giannis Antetokounmpo dropped a 50-piece, grabbing 14 rebounds, dishing out 2 assists. Chris Paul led Phoenix with 26 points and 5 assists. Lakeena, Giannis's performance in these NBA Finals we might not see it right now, but it's going to go down as one of the legendary performances in finals history. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's ranked up there in the top 5, top 10. As we talked about during the series for the past couple of weeks, Lakeena, as he goes, the Milwaukee Bucks go. And there was no way for Giannis to be stopped. As we said before in our last couple episodes, Lakeena, if the Phoenix Suns could design a defense to stop Giannis, like the other teams had the last couple of years, build a wall and force it to become a jump shooter, he had a chance to win the game. But Giannis couldn't be stopped. He did whatever he wanted to, especially in the paint. And Chris Middleton, hopefully there's some more appreciation for him now. He was the Batman he was the Robin to Giannis's Batman. Drew Holiday came big in these last couple of games. Mike Budenholzer, who I'm still not a fan of, but I'll give him credit. Now he's a NBA championship head coach. I know the pressure is going to be off his back for now. they did what they were supposed to do and bring Milwaukee his first title in 50 years, in which they did. And so congratulations to Milwaukee Bucks again for winning the title. Phoenix put up a fight. They just couldn't do enough to stop Giannis.
Yeah, it was pretty much, all Giannis for very much. I mean, he's a seventh player in NBA history to have 50 points in the finals, join LeBron and MJ. What else? He's done a lot. So many, sort of stats, for Giannis. He's the only player in NBA history to have 5 All-Star selections, 5 All-NBA selections, 2 MVPs, multiple MVPs, a Finals MVP, and a Defensive Player of the Year before his 27th birthday. He's only 26. Mm-hmm. He's the 9th player to win multiple MVPs and a Finals MVP in his career. The only players to do that at the age of 26 or younger, Tim Duncan and Kareem. So, yeah, basically he's done a lot of stuff, Giannis to accomplishing. But and look, I think there was no way Giannis. You saw his reaction after the win. He was he kind of sort of sat down and sort of kind of like enjoy the moment. And look, it's their first title in 50 years, for the Bucks and that franchise. So, you're happy for him. You're happy for Chris Middleton. You're happy for Bobby Portis, who had 16 big points off of it. Yeah, who would have thought, right? But
yeah,
look, you can still say that Budenholzer should be fired. I mean, nobody. Look, I'm going to say this, and I think look, Giannis is definitely in the team picture for his finals performance. Let's get that out the way. But also too, I think people also have to remember too. I mean, the Bucks didn't have to face the Nets, at full strength. Harden wasn't 100%. Kyrie was hurt, and all the other parameters here. So I think that they didn't have to face Philly. So the parameters of all this, I mean, look, people want to say let's put an asterisk on this. To me, I think this championship will probably be reminiscent of when the Mavs won, but the circumstances were a lot different. But I just think that I don't know if the Bucks can win another one, especially now they're gonna have a full off season. We'll see how the Nets look at full strength and everything. But look, don't take away. We're not going to take away their accomplishments, the Bucks' accomplishments and everything Giannis has done. He was ordering Chick-fil-A, in the morning, early the next morning. So yeah. I mean, I'm not. Look, you give props to Giannis and the Bucks and for what they've done. But again, you got to consider the parameters and the circumstances and such. So whoever won, I think, was good. People were going to question it. So the fact that it was ended up being the Bucks, now everybody wants to, there are no asterisk here. Okay, fine, folks. But I think, look, you commend them for what they've done, and you commend the performance. The Bucks. I think Giannis just wanted more, and he was not going to lose this game. He was going to win this series and win this finals. If he has to do a finals, which he essentially did.
Couple of things here. One, the Milwaukee Bucks, just like any other championship team, you're going to get some breaks, and the only thing is you had to take advantage of them. The team was basically injury-free outside of DiCenzo, who had an injury towards the end of the regular season, beginning of the playoffs, one of the role players they drafted a couple years ago. Yes, Giannis was still in a hyperextended knee injury, but outside of that, their team was basically healthy. And yes, you mentioned the obstacles they had to go through, and they went through them. They were the healthiest. We said it before the season started. Whichever team will be the healthiest was going to win this title, and that's exactly what happened. Well, they win another one, who knows? But the competition is going to get tougher in the East next year. Let's not talk about the Western Conference. That's a whole nother league in itself. But in the Eastern Conference, can Boston get his act together, which I doubt. But can Philadelphia get their act together? Will they trade Ben Simmons? Brooklyn's going to be healthy this year. Can they actually grow up as a unit and play together? Because if Steve Nash doesn't have that bad non-timeout call at the end of Game 7, the Bucks would have been going home. But Brooklyn, we assume, will be better next year. We talk about Philadelphia. If anybody other top contending team in the East I'm missing, I apologize. But you're going to have to go through some teams next year. And so do they have a chance? Technically, they do, but it's not going to be easy as it was this year. So I'm not going to put an asterisk either. As you said, we're going to get to have an 82-game schedule next year. Now, number two, I know that Giannis said that he wanted to stay in Milwaukee to bring the Bucks the title, which he did that. I know some people brought up conversations that, well, will this be a trend that small market teams can win titles now? I don't think so.
No, I
And this
don't
is
think so
way
either.
bigger than Milwaukee, okay? The all your four professional leagues are built on big market teams doing well and winning titles. That's how this thing sells. You just look at the history of the NBA has been known for that. Yes, the small market teams has success here and there. The only small market team that has sustained success, and people don't talk about it because they didn't win back to back, and plus this Hall of Famer didn't have a bodacious personality. And that's the San Antonio Spurs and Tim Duncan. Okay, the NBA titles in 99, 2003, 05, 07, and then again in 2014. And so if that's not successful, a small market team, I don't know what is. But people want to have this trend now that small market teams are going to pick it up to start. We're going to see them be more consistent and start winning. I know there's a big hatred with these startup teams, these quote unquote
Super
three
teams.
super teams like you mentioned with the Dallas Mavericks championship in 2011. All three of those guys with LeBron Wade and LeBron James were healthy, and Dallas beat them head to head, even though LeBron James choked in the fourth quarter of those losses. But Dallas earned it and they deserved it. But I don't see this trend of small market teams will all of a sudden figure out and start winning on a consistent basis. I just don't see that happening. Now, my third point, bringing it back to Chicago, do you see the Bulls having a similar success next year? I'm not saying holding up a championship trophy, but perhaps getting into the playoffs or perhaps going deep into the playoffs. It's
I think,
possible, but I got
yeah.
to see what moves that AK and Mark Eversley going to make.
Well, that's definitely another question. Like, what moves will he and Eversley make? I think will they try to get Lonzo Ball? Will they try to get Dejounte Murray? What they're gonna do. Gonna move some guys around. So we'll see what they can do. And I would say also to another team in the East that I think that depending on what they do, I would say Miami. I think Miami. Pat Riley has something up his sleeve. We've seen other names. Maybe Damian Lillard gets traded there, or maybe some people said maybe Kyle Lowry, a name that some people say could the Bulls probably would try to be kind of like that veteran presence for everybody, since he's got a championship ring and has some experience, so that could help with the Bulls. So look, there's still a lot of things. The offseason is going to be a lot tougher for Milwaukee next year. You got all these teams going to be at full strength. You're going to have a full off season. You're going to have a full game slate of 82 games next season. So I don't think this is going to be a trend either. I think, like you said, I think the parameters and just the circumstances, I think that I don't want to say that they're lucky, but I think that, things just started fell into place for them. I'll just say that. Now, if you're Phoenix, you're kind of sort of scratching your heads. You're wondering, like, what in the world happened? I mean, yeah, CP3, was not very good in games 4 and 5, but unfortunately, if you're Devin Booker, you only had 19 points. You're only 8 for 22, from the field. You picked and 0 for 7 from 3. You picked the wrong night to have your worst game of the finals. So that does not help. So can they build from this? I don't know. I mean, there are already rumors that maybe CP3 might go to the Lakers to help out LeBron and AD. So just a lot. I think Phoenix will, that's a whole, we said before, the Western Conference is a whole nother animal. So
Yeah.
they're definitely going to have a tougher time. You're going to have guys at full strength, teams at full strength. So they're going to have a tougher road going back to the finals, the Suns, I mean.
Yeah, before we close out this segment, let's stick with the Western Conference. Thank God you brought it up. Let's just say if Chris Paul stays with Phoenix. Okay, Golden State, I'm not putting them in a championship contender yet, but I think they're a playoff team next year. You'll have a healthy Klay Thompson, hopefully James Wiseman, the second year big man out of Memphis. He'll be going into the second year. Hopefully he stays healthy and starts to improve. You still have a healthy Steph Curry. Draymond Green, for now, is still there. You may can trade him for a piece. I don't know. But I think Golden State will be a playoff team next year. Granted, they can stay healthy. Denver, they'll get back Jamal Murray at some point next season. Perhaps maybe after the All-Star break. He suffered a torn ACL toward the end of the season last year. Utah is still Utah, but I don't believe in them. But on paper, they're still good. Dallas, hopefully they can make a move to get a second star. I know Kristaps Porzingis isn't happy. What else is new? But Dallas, if they have a better surrounding cast around Luka Doncic, they'll be better. The Los Angeles Clippers, I think they'll still be good, but Kawhi Leonard's going to be out, if not of all of next season. if not the majority of next season. So I think they may take a slight step back. They're still going to be good, but they won't be as good because Kawhi Leonard is going to miss the majority of next season with his torn ACL and his left knee. So still the rest of the conference is still going to be good. But the Phoenix, this may have been their one opportunity as well. If you're a Suns fan, let's hope not, but you just don't know.
Well, and also too, I think if going back to Golden State, if Wiseman, because he's been the subject of trade rumors too, so we'll see if he even stays there. Also forget staying healthy if he even stays there. But I think like you said with the other teams, I mean, like the Lakers, we'll see, AD and both LeBron should be at full strength by then. I think maybe Dallas, again, we'll see if they can get somebody, to complement Porzingis. I mean, Luka, because they need somebody there because Luka can't do it all by himself, folks. Let's see. I mean, Denver, we'll see if Jokic can kind of hold down the fourth while Murray's still recovering from his ACL injury. We'll see. The rumor that he might not be back till about halfway through the season. Utah, I mean, look, we've been waiting for Utah to kind of make that move, and we're still waiting for them to make that move. I mean, I don't know what else they can do. I mean, can they try to make a move during the off season? I don't know who they can get to join their fray, but we'll see what they can do. So I think the Suns might have a harder time, but I think that maybe with the division, maybe they can get in there. But again, we'll see, because look, we're going to have a full schedule, 82-game schedule next year. And I kind of feel like all this stuff is kind of like, the dominoes will start to fall, especially once whatever moves will be made, over the season. Will Damian Lillard get traded? Will Ben Simmons get traded? I mean, those are kind of like the two big names that are going to be kind of like the questions that are going to be needing to be answered during the off season.
Before we close out, real quick, I was listening to some Los Angeles sports radio, both stations, AM 570 and 710, and they were talking about Chris Paul, and there's been rumors over the last 48 hours talking about Russell Westbrook. Do the Lakers even have enough to get Russell Westbrook? I'll ask you, Lakeena, if you had a choice, which player would you prefer to play for the Lakers? Which player will best fit the Lakers, CP3 or Russell Westbrook?
I'm doing the shrugs. I have no idea. I mean, will there be enough balls to go around? I mean, if you want more balls to go around, I think maybe CP3 would be the better fit. He can kind of be the facilitator and just let LeBron and AD do their thing. I mean, with Russell Westbrook, I know that's, he's an LA guy. He went to UCLA for a minute. I mean, I'm kind of like wondering, like, will there be enough balls for among the three of them? I mean, will they be able to kind of, get along? So I'm a little worried about that. But, you're probably gonna have to trade guys. I mean, I know Schroeder's been the subject of some trade rumors. I know Kuzma, you may have to, put Kuzma in the package, have draft picks you'll be able to give to anybody. So I don't know. I mean, like, if you can just sign, CP3 because he's, open. But again, we'll see. I mean, it's sort of, kind of like that little sense of, okay, who can LeBron get along with? I think that's going to be that's probably going to be like the tiebreaker here.
Yeah.
Because, him and CP3 have been on the banana boat together. So
yeah,
so you got to think that he has the edge. But then again, Westbrook can kind of like take the pressure off LeBron and AD. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be very interesting though, no doubt.
Yeah. Segment number 1 is in the books. We have this 20-second timeout to take. More sports and more fun on the weekend edition of Second City Sports. We'll have more as we talk about the NFL, major moves in college football, the Olympics, and a couple of nuggets from the sports media world. Along with Lakeena McGee, I am Sidney Brown. We will see you and hear you on the flip side. Welcome back to the weekend edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom Style.
Along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WAR Media. You can follow the audio version of this podcast at War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms. You can go to our website, weareregalradio.com, and you can follow us on all social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WAR Media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Lakeena, let's kick off this second half of the program. The NFL is in the news, and according to who you talk to, it's not for any good reason at all. And everybody and their mama, as the kids would say, has an opinion on this controversial subject.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's sort of one of those things where everybody has an opinion and not everyone's opinion is the same. So I think that's sort of another thing we need to wrinkle that we need to kind of iron out here. But the NFL sent a memo on Thursday to, okay, I know it's a sort of a long, sort of, if you didn't see the Tom Pelissero, who does a great job with the NFL Network, he was the first to tweet out the news. And apparently, I guess that they said the NFL sent a memo saying that, I'm paraphrasing what's said in the memo, but if there's an outbreak in your team and, it's because of an unvaccinated player, not only, there will be forfeits, and teams from neither you nor neither team, the team that's in question and the opponent, will get paid. I mean, none of the players will get paid. Now they're going to give some leeway if there's an outbreak, if someone who is vaccinated, because it's rarely, but it has happened. With people getting vaccinated, people who gotten vaccinated who still get COVID anyway. But they're going to give them some leeway there. But if you're unvaccinated, you're not going to be able to adhere to the protocol. So, guys like Cole Beasley, the receiver from the Bills, has been very adamant that he's not going to get the vaccine. DeAndre Hopkins, the Cardinals wide receiver, said that, basically kind of tweet out, say that, hey, I might basically say he might retire. Now he says deleted the tweet and just said, look at freedom. And then he brought out, his girlfriend's brother who's in the military. He got the vaccine, got COVID. Now he's having heart issues. Who knows if that part is true. But, some people, there's definitely some divisions. Rick Dennison, who's the OC for the Vikings, has been fired for refusing to take the vaccine. He's been axed, and I think this is just the beginning, Sid. So what do you think? Because I'll hold on we've been saying this before. Look, you don't have to get the vaccine. That's your choice. But the NFL being a private entity and other companies like them are going to say, look, you don't have to get the vaccine, but if there is an outbreak because, of guys that are unvaccinated, prepare yourself for the consequences and repercussions. Sid, what say you?
I'm going to take you guys back to a moment in time. And we talked about this before we started recording, Lakeena. Do you remember when we had Miss Cheryl Ray Stout, Chicago sports reporter from WBEZ, here on this program back in April?
Yes, we did.
And we talked about how college football and the NFL is going to get back to normal this year with crowds in the stadiums. Of course, we all know most, if not all, colleges are required their students to give vaccines, not just the players, but to the regular student body as well. I don't care if it's a big college or small college, because you have people from all over the world traveling to go to your university. So we knew that was coming. And you ever heard a peep out of college football in terms of vaccines? We'll talk about college football in a minute regarding other issues going on. But getting back to the NFL, I remember our conversation with Show. If you missed it, you can catch that episode from April right here on War Media on YouTube. We talked about this with Cheryl. The NFL could have problems with this because the players have a union, the coaches don't. Let me repeat that again. The players have a union, the coaches don't. And we all know that the players' contracts are not fully guaranteed, so these teams can use it against them, especially a player who's on the totem pole of making the team. You sure you're not going to get this vaccine? If not, we're going to cut you. Hopefully it doesn't have an outbreak, excuse the expression, of that, but that's a definite possibility. Now, as you mentioned before, Lakeena, I do agree with you on this, whether we like it or not. The NFL is a private entity. It's different from your normal 9-to-5 job, okay? But at the same time, you cannot force somebody to get something that they don't want to get or believe in. And that's the same thing with our government. I'm not going to go down the political rabbit hole, but you know where I'm coming from with that. Now, as it was reported a couple of days ago, 16 of the 32 teams in the NFL are at the 85% threshold of their teams getting vaccinated. The majority of the coaches from all 32 teams have been vaccinated. But my point is this. if we're not close to 28, 29, or even 30 teams by the time the regular season starts, then there's going to be a problem. Right now, I think it's pretty good. You got half the league vaccinated in terms of players already. I know 75% of the players are in process of getting their vaccines that have already been vaccinated. So I think it's pretty good. And I know Dallas and Pittsburgh started their training camps this past Wednesday. Of course, the rest of the league will start going into training camps early next week, including the Bears this upcoming Tuesday. But I think it's pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you had less than half the league vaccinated, then it's a problem right now. I know some folks in the media want to make it a bigger story than what it is, but if this number holds or not improve as much as we get towards the end of the preseason, and then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I'm looking at something from Mike Groffalo. He tweeted this out yesterday. There are 9 teams at over 90%, only 5 teams at less than 70. And according to the chief medical officer for the NFL, Alan Sills, he says that 80% of players have taken at least one shot. So there have been that the majority of the players have taken at least one COVID shot. So in this instance where the one with the Minnesota assistant, Rick Dennison, the assistant coach there, who was the O-line coach and the run game coordinator, got yanked because he refused to take the vaccine. If you look at the bylaws, they basically said, look, I mean, all tier 1 people, coaching and personnel, front office executives and equipment managers and scouts, they all have to be vaccinated. That rule's been out there since like early this summer. Mm-hmm. So for now, it's going to be an issue for some of these. I think this is only the beginning. If the guys are, coaches are helping us say, oh, I'm not going to get vaccinated. Well, you can go because protect the money, protect your investment. And look, if
that's all this is about money at this point, because as we said before last year, Lakeena, I don't mean to cut you off, but as we said last year, Lakeena, the NFL did not lose one game. It was a few games that had to be shuffled around, but they basically got through the season without having a makeup week. And we got through the playoffs on time. We got through the regular season on time. The Super Bowl was great as far as getting through. If you're a Kansas City fan, it wasn't great for you, but neither here or there. You didn't miss a game last year, and the players and the teams got paid through the network money because all the teams didn't have any fans in the stands last year. Now going over to this year, like you said, the NFL's protected themselves. They don't want to miss any games. Now with fans coming back into the stands and the anticipation of that is big in itself as we head toward this season. You have storylines across the league, including here in Chicago. We'll get to that in a minute. But you don't want to put anybody at risk. And with that rule being set, Lakeena, with the coaches, like I said, most of them are older. Not all of them, but most of them are older, 50 years or above older. And so I can understand why the NFL have them insist that they get the vaccine, because that virus is potentially deadly and more severe with older folks. And that's fact. And so I get why the NFL did that. And it protects themselves from that assistant coach that they got asked on Friday to sue them, because I know most people are going to tell them, well, you should sue the NFL, you should sue them. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah. Well, and also, too, I think that they kind of warned us, like, look, we're not telling you have to, but if there is an outbreak and, your team has to forfeit because, someone decides that, look, if you're going to be stupid, look, we said it before, you don't have to get the vaccine. You don't. But make sure you take the precautions, make sure you wear a mask, make sure you socially distance. I mean, look, the NFL made, I think, about $8 billion last year, 8 to 10 billion, something like that. And like you said, that's without the fans in the stands. That's mostly the TV money. So they want to protect that investment, especially now with the new TV contracts kicking in, not this season, but next season. So if you're kind of at that point where you're like, well, I don't look, if you're a Cole Beasley, if you're, a DeAndre Hopkins, you're probably not going to get the vaccine anyway. But I think, some of them might kind of get talked into it because, look, teams are going to be like, look, we're not going to, and I know Tom Brady's always like, he's not going to get vaccinated either, but look, we're not going to, lose out because you guys decided not to get vaccinated. Or if you're not, like, at least don't be stupid and just take the precautions that are needed. Make sure you wear a mask and such. So, I think that's a good number. But again, I think Torrey Smith, who veteran wide receiver, has a Super Bowl ring with the Ravens, said it best. And I'm gonna get the tweet up here, but he's been doing some TV work now. But I think that he kind of covered it for everybody, because I kind of feel like there's some people that, oh well, they're making the players and the coach get vaccinated. No, they're not. They really aren't. But but I think the fact that they had to have, he said, why is everybody tripping over the NFL memo? It doesn't force you to get vaccinated. It just says if you want to be the reason why things are worse, your team will pay. There's a difference. And he's right. So
Yeah.
And he's right. So I think that I'm sure the precautions are going to be, if guys don't want to get vaccinated, I mean, that's their choice. I'm sure. Look, you're still going to get regular testing, and look, if you feel sick, stay your butt home. If you don't feel, don't feel well, that way you don't have to risk, going, spread it to the entire team and coaches.
Also, too, did you catch Michael Irvin's comments the other day? I'm talking about if you're not committed to, I'm just paraphrasing here, you're not committed to winning a Super Bowl if you don't get vaccinated. Of course, Ezekiel Elliott spoke to the media on Wednesday's training camp open up for the Cowboys. He's not, of course, he had COVID before the start of last season, during this time last year, during the off season. He says he's okay. Obviously, he's looks like he's in the best shape of his life. We know he struggled on the field last season. I know he's not attributed to COVID, but I'm sure it had a small role into why he struggled last year. But he said that he took the vaccine, obviously, and he says he's okay. And so, but for Michael Irvin, I know those comments were strong. I know he's still close to the Cowboys, even though he works for the NFL Network. But I kind of felt I knew where he was coming from, but at the same time, you can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. Even though we said NFL is a private entity.
Well, yeah, and
it's not the regular 9-to-5 job.
Well, yeah, and to add to Zeke's comments, I mean, he said that he came from a family where his mother's a Christian doctor, and she didn't believe in vaccines. He wasn't vaccinated with anything, growing up. But he did say, like he says, he took the COVID. He had COVID. He got the vaccine. So, that's he's actually looks better than he did when he was at Ohio State. I know that's saying a lot, but that's saying a lot. But yeah, I mean, he's in really good shape. So, and look, I'm sure there are going to be some guys are going to resist. Yeah, sure, but I'm sure the conversations are going to be that, look, we're not going to you don't have to get the vaccine. We're not going to force you to, but you're not going to be the reason why we have to forfeit. So you're going to get tested regularly. You're going to do your social distance or whatever. I'm sure there's still going to be some rules in place for, if by the end of training camp we don't get to that 90% threshold where you can start to have regular testing and whatnot. So I'm sure it's going to be okay. But I think this is going to be. I know people try to make this a story, but it really wasn't. I think we all knew that the NFL was going to do this. I'm sure other things. I know that the Pac-12 has said that they might follow a similar model, but I'm sure other maybe other conferences will as well. Maybe some of the smaller conferences. So we just don't know. But again, I think like with schools, in colleges, and I know the Chicago Public Schools said that since the younger kids not going to be able to get vaccinated, since it's not available, then you're going to have to wear masks. If not, you can't come to campus. So look, everybody's going to be able to make their own rules, and they have every right to. Like the NFL, look, this is a business. So look, you follow the business model and you can't. So, but in this case, they're doing what they feel they have to do.
Also, this past Wednesday, the Pittsburgh Steelers opened up their training camp. Of course, the Cowboys and the Steelers will play each other August the 4th, I believe, in the Hall of Fame game, the 4th or the 5th. In the Hall of Fame game. So those two teams went in early for training camp. And I liked what head coach Mike Tomlin of the Steelers said. I'm just paraphrasing here. He's regarding with the vaccine issue. He said he took care of that issue early because he knew that potentially there was going to be an issue that divided the locker room. And there was some other issues as well. He said, let's take care of it when we can as soon as possible because we all heard this phrase, it's tough to win in this league, the NFL, with no distractions. And, that franchise has had a lot of distractions, especially under his tenure the last few years. So, especially with Ben Roethlisberger going into his last year in the Steelers uniform. If you're Pittsburgh, you cannot afford any other issues. No team can afford any other issues. But I wanted to ask you, Lakeena, I don't know what the Chicago Bears status is as far as their players being vaccinated. I don't know what their percentile is. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it'll be good by the time the season starts along with everybody else. But I wanted to ask you, Lakeena, could this, and we kind of hinted this with Cheryl Ray Stein with our interview with her back in April when she last joined us, but do you think it will become a bigger issue than what we realize if these numbers don't improve if the NFL doesn't see these numbers improved by the time the preseason is over with?
Well, just to
Do you
clean
think
up.
it would become a divisive issue in these NFL locker rooms? You read a couple of the tweets. We all know that people are on this side and some people on the other side with this. Do you think it would become a bigger issue if we don't see these numbers improve in terms of vaccinations?
Well, to clean up what you said that Hall of Fame game between the Steelers and Cowboys is the 5th of August, so which is a Thursday.
Okay.
So just to just to clear that up here, but yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I think we read the numbers. We saw. I told you guys the tweet from Mike Garofalo, I should say. I mean, you got only. I think there are only like 5 teams are at below 70. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that number is going to go up. Especially, I'm sure there's going to be some encouragement if they want to get back. I mean, I think if they can get at least to 90, I think if you're the NFL, you'll be okay with it. There's going to be some guys, even some stars that are probably not going to get the vaccine. But if you're like in the bottom of the, just trying to get into the roster, if you have a better shot of perhaps getting on the team if you get vaccinated. Whereas if you don't want to get vaccinated or you're unvaccinated, you probably won't get on the team. So that's going to be kind of be where it is. Now, will it cause division in the locker room? I think we just got to wait and see. I know that I'm sure they're gonna push guys down to to get to try to take the vaccine. Maybe not. I mean, I'm sure they're not gonna force their stars to take it, but again, I think it's gonna be like the lower tier guys are probably gonna be forced to take it. But again, I'm sure with folks. Like I said, I think we just gotta wait and see. I think that if knock on wood, there is an outbreak and someone will have to forfeit. If that forfeit costs a team the division or number 1 seed or a wild card spot, comes back to that loss, that forfeit, I should say, comes back to bite you in the butt. That's gonna be where it's gonna cause a lot of tension in the locker room.
The reason why I asked that is because I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's next week, if not the week after. I know HBO will premiere this season's version of Hard Knocks, yes, featuring the Dallas Cowboys, and that's produced by NFL Films. Will that? I'm sure that issue has been brought up already in the Dallas Cowboys locker room. Will they show that on camera? And we already know the storylines. They'll focus in on the superstars. This year would be Dak Prescott coming back from his horrific injury from a year ago. Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper. They'll how the storylines are for that show. They'll focus in on the superstars. They'll focus in on Jerry Jones. As I said before, he's an attention whore. So excuse my language, but he'll grab every camera there is. He's like the white version of Puff Daddy. And then you're going to focus in on the guys that's on the bench or the fringe of getting cut, and you're going to also focus in on the guys who played in the Arena League for 20 years, had that Kurt Warner story. He's been bagging groceries ever since he's a teenager. He's trying to get on the team. So I wanted to see if the vaccine will come up with those types of players. If it does, will they show that on camera?
Yeah, that's gonna. I don't think they will. I think they want to try to avoid that. So I don't think they're gonna show it now. August 10th. That's that Tuesday after the Hall of Fame game. That will be the premiere. So, I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they want to make this into a bigger story. I think it just turned into a bigger story because of the talking heads. I think in the end, I think the NFL will get to about 90 by the time training camp, in the preseason over. I think they will be close to 90. I think if you're in the NFL, if you can get to 85 or 90%. You're fine. I think if you can get everyone, like I said, there are only 5 teams as of this recording. There are only 5 teams that are less than 70. So if you want to get to that herd immunity we keep talking about, I think it won't be unless it's made a big issue. It won't be an issue. We probably an issue. I doubt the HBO and I think the NFL probably will not show that unless there's absolutely a really big scandal. I don't think they're gonna make a big deal about it.
All right, we'll see what happens with that. You're listening to the weekend edition of Second City Sports. So along with Lakeena McGee, I am Sidney Brown. As we continue to talk about the pigskin, Lakeena, let's go to college football. Oklahoma and I believe Texas wants to move out of the Big 12 to go into the SEC. Are you kidding me? Besides money, why are they doing this? And they want to do it as soon as possible. Help me out here.
Look, you just took my talking point, Sid. I mean, it is about money. That's the only reason, that if you're Oklahoma and Texas, where you could be, especially if you're Oklahoma, you could be like kings of the Big
They're
12 in
part of the
football.
Power Five conference already.
Yeah, like they're like the kings. They can always compete. They could probably have a spot in the playoff. Look, money is the only reason for this. Apparently, this has been going on for like the last 6 months. And apparently, I guess this report was leaked by an A&M person to kind of text an A&M person to try to, to squash the deal. Look, I don't know. I mean, this is just absurd. Like I said, it's asinine. I've been saying it the last couple of days. Money is the only reason they're making this move. Because if you're Texas, you go to the SEC, we got to deal with Alabama. Not only Oklahoma, but you got to deal with Alabama. You got to deal with LSU. Really? You really? Florida?
Do you really, as the
wanna
kids
deal
would
with
say,
that?
you want any of that smoke?
Yeah,
No.
so I don't understand this move at all. Like we would say, it's a money move. There's nothing, it's plain and simple. It's money. You got that big contract coming up with ESPN after this season once they finish their run with CBS. Now, if you're the Big 12,
Do they know something? Yeah, not to cut you off, but do they know something with that TV contract that we don't know?
I don't know.
That's the
There
may be a
question.
possibility. I'm not saying it is, but it may be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, but you got a pretty good deal if you're the Big 12. You got a pretty good deal now. Those are your two. Texas and Oklahoma are your two cash cows, especially in football.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Yeah.
if and when they leave, I guess it's really a matter of when. But what you're basically stuck. What do? Do you try to maybe call BYU, who is independent, or or this team? I mean, it's just we're witnessing a super conferences, and I don't like it at all. I think it's absurd. I think it's dumb. This is a dumb move by Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah, I said it. And especially with Texas, I mean, you're barely hanging on by a thread in football. You go to the SEC, you're going to be even worse. So again, I'm sure if you're A&M, I'm sure you're begging. Also Missouri too, because I don't think Missouri wants them to be playing Texas and Oklahoma again either. So that's the reason why they left the Big 12. But I mean, look, if you're Vanderbilt, you can just forget it. I'm sure Florida. I've read that they've got some concerns. Both the Mississippi schools are some of them are worried. So we'll see. They need 11 SEC schools to kind of say it's okay for them to come.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the $1 million question. Can A&M talk a couple of schools to not vote for Texas and Oklahoma? Now you hear that maybe that they want Oklahoma and OK State and not Texas. So I don't know. This whole thing is just absurd. So keep start talking to it, because I'm about to lose it here.
I know Texas has its own separate deal. They have their own TV network distributed by ESPN, and like you said, Oklahoma and all those other schools are like you said have their games are mostly on ESPN. I think what's the Big 12? Help me out, Lakeena. Was it the Pac-12? I think now, not this year, but next year they're going to CBS.
I believe.
Was it the Pac-12?
No, it's the Big 10. The Big 10. Oh no. They haven't decided yet. They haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Although the Pac-12 has been floated around, I think the Big 10 has been floated around too. So yeah, CBS is in the lookout for another conference.
Okay. But they basically their games will get shown nationally every week. And if you're Oklahoma, I'm not gonna say you basically own their league, but you do. I know Texas has been struggling for the last couple of years, but you're Oklahoma, you're at the top of that conference. As you mentioned, you're guaranteed a spot in the playoff tournament every year. You're in the Power 5 conference, jumping to the SEC. Can you tell me right now, guarantee me right now, you go out recruit Alabama, which gets players all over the country? No. I know Oklahoma gets some players from across the country, but they basically get majority of their players from their region. Nebraska, North and South Dakota, should they go there, Texas, around their region. But you're not going to recruit Alabama, and you're not going to overtake that conference, at least as long as Nick Saban's there. So outside of money, I don't know why they're making this move. Unless they know something that we don't know.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. Unless they tell us something, please. I would love to know what's the reason behind this other than money. But they probably don't have another reason. But we'll see.
All right, we're heading down the home stretch here on Second City Sports, the weekend edition, along with Lakeena McGee. I'm Sidney Brown. We'll be remiss quickly, Lakeena, we didn't mention that the opening ceremonies of the Olympics in Tokyo, Japan took place on Friday. And, of course, the competitions have, with all these different sports, with the volleyball and basketball, They started today. Of course, the U.S. men's and I believe the women's basketball team will start tomorrow, which is Sunday for those of you listening to our audio version. I know the men start tomorrow morning. I cannot wait. The exact Levine is there now from the Chicago Bulls for rejoining Team USA. I cannot wait to see what he does on the big stage. And as we said in our last episode, Lakeena, the preliminary round should be a breeze, but after that, it's going to be a hard challenge to get a medal, especially a gold medal.
Well, I mean, we've been saying in the last couple of episodes, I think there's no reason why Team USA shouldn't get through the preliminary rounds. Like I said, they play France, Iran, and the Czech Republic. There's no reason why they shouldn't be 3-0. Going into the medal rounds, that's when it gets a little bit tougher. Now, Booker, Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday, they're now there. So, and the word is that maybe they'll, for the opening round against France tomorrow or tonight, I guess, if we're going, the time zone difference here, but that they should be ready and available. I think, why not start Levine since he's got the freshest legs? But again, I'm not a coach, so that's just me. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting though. I mean, like you said, I mean, I think I look at the Olympics as a whole. Look, I don't know how you feel about it, Sid, but like I'm looking forward to them. I know some people are kind of antsy about it because they're afraid of. You saw the opening ceremonies. You guys saw, some athletes decided not to walk. You're going into an empty stadium. Just the pageantry and everything. I know some. Also too, the COVID. They're all of them are going to, or they have to wear masks. They have to. They put that. IOC put that as a requirement. Daily testing and such. So. The U.S. team was saying happy birthday to Kevin Durant. Only his birthday's not till like September, so I don't. That was kind of weird, but this is his third Olympics, so you would think they, folks would know when his birthday is, but that's another. Yeah. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking forward to it. I think that this is gonna be, interesting. I think people just want the escape. Yes, it's gonna be weird without the crowds, but and the same thing on the women's side. I know they had their early struggles too, but it looks like they shouldn't have no trouble getting the gold medal again. So, I'm just looking forward to seeing the games. They're all going to be taped unless you want to stay up late because of the time. There's like a 13-hour time difference between here in the Central Time Zone and Tokyo. So, you may be getting like the tail end of some of the competitions, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, you have to watch the live action during the wee hours in the morning. For your primetime viewers that will be watching the NBC, they'll be tape delayed. So at least some of the events, not all of them, but some of them. And so, like I said, I'll be watching the Olympics. It's going to be weird without fans because that Tokyo's in a state of emergency because the COVID cases are rising. So hopefully we don't see any events getting canceled outright. Maybe a couple of them be moved around, but I'd rather see that than events being canceled already. As we said before in our last couple of episodes, Lakeena, I don't think it's going to be too disastrous. I think they're going to be okay. You might see some minor hiccups here and there, but I don't think it's going to be really disastrous as many people expect.
Yeah, I've seen like people already like going, going to doom and gloom, like, oh, they're gonna, it's gonna be a big outbreak. And like, I think the IOC knows say what you want about it. I think they know what they're doing. So, they were gonna have these Olympics, especially not, canceling them last year, come hell or high water, and they're happening. So, they had Sue Bird, of course, they're the veteran women's basketball player, and also Eddie Alvarez, who his story is, incredible. Immigrant, his parents were immigrants from Cuba. He actually ended up winning a gold medal in 2008 in speed skating in Sochi for the Winter Olympics. But baseball, of course, is his first sport near and dear to his heart. Of course, this is their first year back. Baseball and softball, the women's softball team have been doing pretty well so far, winning their first 2 games. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm gonna look forward to it. Look, I know the pageantry, like you said, it's gonna be lost because there's no crowds there. But I think people want an escape from everything that's going on. And I know people, like you said, I know people want like the doom and gloom, like, oh my God, it's gonna be an outbreak, they're gonna cancel. No, that's not happening, folks. It's not happening. I know people are I don't want to say they're cheering for it, but but look, the college football season went through with no problem, for the most part. There were some cancellations here and there, but the NBA, had some of its issues, but they got through it, and the NFL, got through some of their issues, and even some of the international sports, Formula One, they were able to get through it with some minor issues here and there, but they've been able to get, so far, Wimbledon was able to get through, go through no problem. So there have been some world events that have, taken place this, despite the circumstances. So I think I'm sure the Olympics will be any different.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Let's do that hockey, Lakeena, as the schedules for the NHL, for some of the networks, and all the teams were released on Thursday. Of course, here at home with the Chicago Blackhawks, I know they have other issues going on. We won't talk about that here, at least as of yet. But focusing on the ice, the 21-22 season will begin Wednesday, October 13th. As the Chicago Blackhawks will take on the Colorado Avalanche on the road. I believe that game's on TNT. We'll check that in just a moment. That's the Hawks road opener. Their home opener will be Tuesday, October 19th versus the New York Islanders. Let's just go through some of the highlight games here. Sunday, October 24th, the Detroit Dead Wings, that's right, I said it. The Detroit Dead Wings, the original 6 rival, will come make their only visit to Chicago. As we told you that the schedules will get back to normal next year. The Hawks will be back in the Western Conference, facing the Central Division with the majority of the games. October 27th, which is a Wednesday, the Toronto Maple Leafs will come here. Going through the schedule, Tuesday, November 9th, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, those guys will come here. Let's go through the rest of the schedule. Wednesday, December 15th, the Washington Capitals will come here. Alexander Ovechkin will make his only appearance here right before the snow. Saturday, January 1st, New Year's Day, they'll be at Nashville to take on the Predators, and then return home Sunday, January 2nd, to take on the Calgary Flames. There's only 3 games in February because of the Winter Olympics.
Yep.
Exactly. So those games are February 2nd against Minnesota, for Friday, February 25th, when they return from the Olympics against New Jersey, and then Sunday, February 27th against St. Louis. A couple of the highlighted games to wrap up the schedule. Sunday, March 6th, Tampa Bay, the defending Stanley Cup champions, will come here to the UC. Tuesday, March 8th against Anaheim. The Seattle Kraken, I saw it on here. Lakeena, if you find it before I do, please shout it out.
April 7th. April
7th, yeah, I see it now, yeah. Thursday, April 7th, the Seattle Kraken will make their debut here in Chicago. Of course, Tuesday, April 12th against San Jose. Thursday, April 14th against the Los Angeles Kings. And, of course, the Vegas Golden Knights will wrap up the home portion of the Hawks schedule Wednesday, April 27th. And then Friday, April 29th at Buffalo, the regular season will end. So that's your highlighted schedule. That's your schedule for the 2021-22 Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, yeah, and the Colorado game will at Colorado, I should say, that is a TNT game. So, and of course, it'll be decided once the ESPN releases their schedule. I'm sure some of these games will be on ESPN or ESPN Plus. You probably have to stream it, and I believe, and I think all the games are still going to be on. The national stuff, unfortunately, will not. I don't know if it's going to be subject to blackout like it was before. When the last time the NHL was on ESPN, you couldn't get a lot of the Hawks games. So hopefully that's not the case this time, because you would definitely want to try to get the national perspective with the Blackhawks. Now the Blackhawks, they're trying to get Seth Jones. That's the rumor that's been floated out there. So we'll see if he can kind of be that extra guy right there. Deep into that that defenseman lineup for the Blackhawks, which they really desperately need. But I'm looking forward to the Hawks season. I know there's some other stuff going on. We won't get into it, like you said, because I think that's just, kind of like, stuff is still coming out still, but it doesn't look good in that sense, but we won't go there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Hawks. I'm looking forward to the TNT and ESPN coverage of hockey. If ESPN doesn't use that old hockey theme, like, I don't know what to tell you, because that's not, that's like, they better still use that theme. Maybe update a little bit, of course, it's 2021, but still.
Yeah, speaking of ESPN, they'll have a great night welcoming back the NHL to their airways on Tuesday, October 12th. The doubleheader, the first game will feature the Tampa Bay Lightning hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins, followed by the Seattle Kraken's first ever game against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Both games will also be simulcast on ESPN Plus. As you mentioned, Turner, the NHL TNT will debut the next day, the 13th. With the New York Rangers at the Washington Capitals, followed by the Blackhawks at the Colorado Avalanche. And TNT will be your new home for the Winter Classic, which is January 1st. The St. Louis Blues will travel to Tennessee to face the Nashville Predators. Let me read that right. Yeah, Minnesota Wild will be hosting the St. Louis Blues, sorry. And then Nashville will host the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, that should be a fun one there. So yeah, so not too early to talk hockey. I know we're gonna like a couple of months before they start training camp, but look, it's never too early to talk hockey and
Mhm.
see what's to kind of look for and stuff, and we'll see what more moves the Hawks make. Should be very
Yep.
interesting.
And Jonathan Tays, we know, will be back after missing last year. So the good news for the Blackhawks and Blackhawks fans. And so we're looking forward to that. Let's go to the sports media world. Lakeena, there's a couple of nuggets here as we wrap up this edition of the weekend edition of Second City Sports. Thom Brennaman, who was asked at this time a year ago for saying a homophobic slur during the Kansas City Royals Cincinnati Reds game from a year ago. He's returning to action, and he will call Cincinnati area high school sports for Chatterbox Sports. Thom Brennaman's slurs we mentioned led to his firing last year from Fox Sports and Cincinnati Reds broadcast. Thom Brennaman, a year later, has signed a deal to call Cincinnati area sports again. He'll be doing it for Chatterbox Sports, as we mentioned, is a website focused on Cincinnati area sports. It has some ad-supported content and some paywall subscribers only content. And here's the thing, Lakeena, but that video starts with Chatterbox Sports President Trace Fowler introducing Brennaman in a video. Here's the thing, Lakeena. Not saying people don't deserve to get second chances, but I know that Thom Brennaman has met with leaders from the LGBTQ community. I know he's done some PSAs to help promote their cause. And I know that he's playing the game in terms of getting back his name and getting back in good graces with viewers and listeners from across the country. Will this be his last step? I'm not sure. Will he ever go back to network availability, network status? I'm not sure, but this is a step if he wants to go back to that spot.
Yeah, I think people always want to see folks show a little contrition, so a little compassion. I don't know if he'll be able to go back to the regular networks, because I just think that the sustain's there, and I think how Twitter is. They don't want to, these networks don't want to have to deal with the smoke from Twitter, certain Twitter, Twitter
Hmm.
fandom. So I don't think we're going to see him now. Maybe local. He's a Cincy kid, so I'm thinking that maybe this will probably be the maybe local stuff in Cincinnati, like you said, high school. I mean, that's a nice little. It gives you a nice, it's a nice little paycheck. So I think that's,
Hmm.
I think that's something. He's back behind the mic. But as for him, like going back to the networks, I doubt it. I think there's just too much of a stain there, and I think folks are very mindful of these days of what you say, especially in this climate. Now there have been some
Hmm.
guys that have said stuff and were able to kind of go back and do what they do, and kind of rehabilitate themselves. But this is a different time, so folks don't forget. Folks have long memories,
Hmm.
whether it's warranted or not. So
Now, do you think that he'll do a local team again? Which we know for sure it won't be the Cincinnati Reds, but do you think he'll do another local team down the road, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, whatever? Do you think he can kind of get back to that status and then not be on Fox, ESPN, NBC, or whatever? Do you think he'll do something local?
maybe,
Let's say in the next 5 years.
he's still I think he's still like 58 or something. I gotta look up his age, but I
Hmm.
think he's gotta be like almost 60. So some will say that
Hmm.
maybe the age might be an issue for him. But like I said, I think he'll do fine. Like I said, he's a Cincy kid, so he's 57. So I mean, I don't. I think maybe he can. I mean, you don't want to say never in this instance.
Hmm.
Maybe locally he still might do some things. But like I said, I don't think some teams may not want that smoke. So
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, weird things about said being in this business. Weird things have happened. Like I said, we're in a different climate now, so he's aware of that, and so I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a second chance, but he's working his way back up, and maybe he'll get there. Maybe not claim the spot like he once had, but maybe he can get close to it. We shall see what happens with that. One more nugget for me, Lakeena, from our good friends at Awful Announcing. Of course, Maria Taylor, as we reported in our last episode, she'll be headed over to NBC. And now, since the NBA Finals are over and her contract with ESPN has expired, they handicapped the candidates to replace Maria Taylor on ESPN's College Game Day. Holly Rowe, Laura Rutledge, who's the current host of ESPN's NFL Live, Taylor McGregor, who also does the Cubs field reporting, Katie Nolan, Katie George, and Allison Williams is just some of the names that were brought up in this article earlier this week from our good friends at Awful Announcer. Who do you think should replace Maria Taylor as the host of College Game Day?
Well, you think
Because they do some sideline reporting as well.
Yeah, you think the natural choice would be Holly Rowe because she's got the most experience doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's terrific. She's been doing this for, I don't want to age her. She's been doing it for, I'll say, a long time. Laura, I think she's got some experience, doing it too. But, she's been doing a lot of NFL Live. And plus she also hosts, the SEC version of College Game Day.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to want to take her away from that, even though I think she'd be really good. She's shown she's really good at it. But like I said, you know how Black Twitter is, Sid, and gonna say, well, you let a Black woman, but you replace her with a white woman. Look, I'm not saying that that's the case here, but you know how Black Twitter is, especially. So
I ignore them. So
yeah, I do too. But they're
you're
loud.
correct, but I ignore them.
Yeah, I'll say they can be obnoxious. They can be obnoxious most of the time. I won't. Let's
we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. But but look, I think Cassie Hubbard I think would be great at it because she did it for a little bit when she was at the Big Ten Network. She did some sideline reporting and things like that. I know some people have said maybe let Malika Andrews do it, but she doesn't have a lot of experience doing sidelines for football, so they may not want to take a chance on that.
Like I said, Cassidy Hubbard should be the top two candidates for Countdown.
Yeah, that's what I the NBA Countdown. Yeah, that's probably gonna be where it is. So like you got Holly Rowe, Laura Rutledge, Molly McGrath, Allison Williams would be great. Katie George, who's definitely seen her rise in her stock.
She did the Milwaukee Bucks before she took ESPN a couple years ago.
Yes, she did.
Note that.
Yeah, she did, and she did. She works for the ACC network too, so. She's been gaining a lot of experience with that. So yeah, I think those names I said.
And she's been doing ESPN radio too here and there.
Yes,
I've been listening to her for the past few months.
She's great. So yeah. Also Taylor McGregor, but I think she's also a little bit too young. So might be for that. Chris Button I think would be a good one. Lauren's sister, who I follow on Twitter, who has a great I want to say great backstory, but such overcame some really great odds. So like you got a lot of great. They've got ESPN has a lot of great people, great females that they can get to perhaps take over those spots, and all of them are all very capable. And so it'll be interesting to see, do they maybe do a split? Do they have one? Or Jen Latta, I've had on the show before. She's terrific too, from right here in Chicago. So do they maybe perhaps?
Yeah, she does the morning show in Milwaukee.
Yeah, she does on ESPN Milwaukee. So I don't know if. They may split the roles and have one person do the College Game Day and have the other one do the primetime football game of the week, is. But I think they want to try to keep it consistent to have one do both. So who knows? I mean, look, they got a little bit of time. I'm sure with the next few weeks they'll probably release who pick somebody, but they're going to do a great job, regardless. So I'm not worried. What about you?
Yeah, they have some extra candidates as we mentioned. So maybe somebody that they're considering that we don't know. Sometimes that happens in this business. So we shall see. But they got a plethora of talent to pick from. So we shall see what happens. Anything else before we close out?
Well, more problems in Green Bay, it looks like. Now, apparently, we know about the Bears situation. We'll talk more about that next week, with Allen Robinson. They're not going to discuss a long-term deal. But apparently also, too, now Devontae Adams isn't happy, and he may not show up to training camp because he wants a long-term deal, and they're not. It's just things are kind of going crazy in Green Bay. I know Bears fans want to say, "Hey, it's open the door for us," but I think you're in Minnesota. You're like, "Okay, hello, not so fast." So, yeah. So I'm wondering, will this be something that be another distraction for the Packers this year? So who knows?
Yeah, we shall see. But I think things between Adams and the Packers, like you said, Adams was going to play in the preseason anyway, along with Aaron Rodgers. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers is a whole nother issue. But Devontae Adams, I'm sure it'll come to some resolution before the start of the season. So I'm not too worried right now. But another item, since you brought up the NFL before we go, wide receiver Michael Thomas, he had surgery last month on his ankle, which he missed just about half the season. That's huge news for the Saints because Drew Brees isn't there anymore. He's doing games for NBC. Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, They're gonna suffer if Thomas is not there for the first month of the season. That's gonna be rough.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara. I'm sure he's gonna have maybe 10,000 yards, maybe rush for 10,000 yards this year, Alvin Kamara. So because they really don't have anybody else in their receiving core. So
Exactly.
This is definitely a big loss for Sean Payton and the Saints because, like you said, Sid, you're going to be dealing with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, and they're not going to have anybody to throw to. So Alvin Kamara, get ready for 10,000 yards.
Yep, 8-9 men in the box. Ooh wee.
Yeah, and look, we'll get into once we get into our divisional previews and stuff like that. But yeah, they're gonna, they're saying 4 months recovery, so he could probably miss half the season. So that's gonna be a tough one there for them. But well, I mean, there's got some great baseball this weekend. And a little bit coverage if you're into it. You can watch on the NBC on your local NBC affiliate, but if not, you can watch them live on the apps. And also some of the various NBC Universal channels. So
Peacock app, that, yeah.
USA and USA and MSNBC.
The Olympic channel, I get that on my cable system. Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. So yeah, so there are lots of places you can watch live, and also, of course, as Sid said, on the Peacock app. So you'll have some place to watch the NBC, especially if you want to watch the sports live.
Yes.
Drink lots of coffee.
Drink
lots of coffee for the next 2 weeks, I guess. On that note, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. You can go to our website, we are regalradio.com for more details. Excuse me.
WeAreRadio.com and also the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah, that's at War Media. Once again, at WAR Media. Once again, WAR Media. As Lakeena mentioned, on our Facebook platforms. You can catch this show on YouTube at War Media, WAR Media. Videos drop every Monday and Friday for a sneak preview. Once again, videos drop every Monday and Friday right here on YouTube for a sneak preview at War Media. Our audio version is available every Tuesday and Saturday. New episodes on War on Anchor. Once again, at WARR on Anchor. Just type that in your search engine boxes on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. For Lakeena McGee, I am Sydney Brown. You've been listening to Second City Sports.
And, be careful out there, folks. Make sure you wash your hands. If you're not going to get vaccinated, wear your mask, keep your distance, and just be smart and be safe. So, this is Second City Sports Zoom style, and don't worry, we're going to get right to football too. So we'll see you Monday.
Till next time, holla!